And Steppin with Marcus J back live from the den, legacyinternetradio.com. I hope y'all enjoying the TV theme songs. I played that on, did they just play that a week ago? Of course, back at it this week here on Ain't No Half Steppin with Marcus J. At this time, I want to go and get a couple of words in from our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Carlton Banks will give you what our first sponsor is. Carlton Banks, what's our sponsor?
Our sponsor for this particular hour segment is CL Power Photography. For your wedding, bar mitzvah, birthdays, anniversaries, baby blessings, anything you need a photographer for, he's going to be there to take care of you. Give him a cell phone call at 804-241-7498 or his email, which is long as I'm about to go in the tip jar. c.l.power.photography@gmail.com. Let me go ahead and say that again because it's long as hell and I'm out of breath when I say it.
I wonder how he feel about the way you're doing his spot right now.
You know what? He might enjoy it.
He might. He is a weirdo.
He is weird.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I got to give it a radio voice.
Go
That's my radio voice.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
See, there you go. c.l.power.photography@gmail.com. Radio voice is what Carlton is using right now.
Oh my goodness.
See, I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give you another voice in a little while later.
Please don't. I don't.
You don't want another voice?
I hear enough voices. I don't need to hear any more.
I know the ones that talking in your head.
Ain't No Half Steppin with Marcus J is also sponsored by the Doctor of Optometry, Dr. Euphemia Huggins Williams, ODPC. She's my eye doctor, y'all. So definitely make sure that y'all go ahead and use her if you have any kinds of issues with your eyes, or you just need to get them checked out. If you live long enough, you're gonna need glasses, so you might as well start getting checked out. 7124 Forest Hill Avenue, Suite B here in Richmond, Virginia, 23225. 804-327-1640 is the number to dial. She's got all kinds of eyewear, stylish eyewear, and she has good rates and things of that sort. Takes all kinds of insurances. So check her out, Dr. Euphemia Huggins Williams, ODPC, Doctor of Optometry. Also, as we do every single week, we profile a missing and/or exploited child. This week's child, I found this child on the Black and Missing Inc.com, which is the website for the Black and Missing Foundation. We've got young DeAndre R. Holly, who is an endangered runaway. He's a black male, stands 6 foot 160. He's 13 years old. He's missing from Virginia Beach, Virginia, and he's been missing since November 15, 2012. He's got black hair, short black hair, brown eyes, and apparently in this photograph, he wears glasses. Last known location is unknown, but he's probably a runaway. He was wearing all black ROTC uniform when he was last seen. So if you have seen young DeAndre R. Holly, please contact the blackandmissing.com website, the Black and Missing Foundation, or contact the National Center for Missing and or Exploited Children on their website, missingkids.com, 1-800-THE-LOST, 1-800-843-5678. You guys know how I feel about missing kids, and I think you know how I feel about runaways. Just because they're runaways does not mean that they're legitimate runaways, and just because they may be legitimate runaways doesn't mean that we need to stop looking for them. This boy, he's a big kid, but he's 13 years old. He needs to be home with his family. So keep your eyes and your ears open for DeAndre R. Holly. Ain't No Half Steppin with Marcus J is pleased to be joined in studio by the host of Enliven Radio, heard right here on Legacy Internet Radio and all of our affiliates on Tuesdays from 7 to 9. He's been out the last 2 weeks, but we are pleased to have him join us in studio for the duration of the show. We got Mr. LP himself, Steven Sykes. What's going on, my brother?
Doing all right. Thank you very much. How are you doing today?
Doing fabulous. We can call him the voice of Legacy Internet Radio, because every time he says good evening, it's like I expect to see the dude from like the Addams Family come in. He's like, good evening. You know?
You ringing?
Yeah, you ring. Yeah, that's Addams Family, right?
Lurch.
Yeah.
Lurch.
Well, I expect that. You know, the voice is very, very noticeable. But it's good to see you, man. You had a safe trip. You don't have to tell us too much, but did you have a safe trip?
I had a safe trip. I'm back alive. I got all my appendages. I'm good.
Good deal. It's good to see you. Let's get into it. In the last segment, Carlton Banks, you had a question. What do you think about it? And you asked the question, what do you think about social media? Well, the first story that we're going to get into, and what the hell? And this one really did make me say, what the hell? Because this story was on my radar even before you told me what we were going to talk about. This story is about Kayla Henriquez, who was recently sentenced to 15 years in prison following a murder that she committed that followed a Facebook beef. Kayla Henriquez, 20 years old, pleaded guilty to manslaughter and will serve 15 years in prison for the stabbing death of her close friend, Kamisha Richards, who was 22. I'm getting this from news1.com, and they're reporting that she stabbed Richards, Henriquez stabbed Richards in February of 11 after the two engaged in a Facebook feud over a $20 loan over a box of diapers. Richards was dating Henriquez's brother, loaned the money to her, but she ended up using it for something else. In the heat of arguing over the money, Kayla claims that Richards threw her son's milk, spilling it. Their beef escalated via Facebook and text messages, ultimately leading to Richards posting this. Kayla, now you're getting out of control. I hope you're having fun entertaining the world. Trust me, I'm going to have the last word. To which Henriquez replied, we will see. There's more to the story, but I think we got it set up appropriately. Carl, I want you on this one first. I don't even know what to say, my brother. What's your thoughts?
My thing is this. Why they got to air their beef on social media? Again, why are you airing this on social media? You can't find another way? Send her a postcard. Go to her house. Call her up. Text her. Something. You got to sit here and air it on social media, then mess around and get stabbed over the situation? Is it that serious? $20? I mean, really? Is it that serious that you got to do something for $20?
$20 and $20. Steven, come to you next. $20 led to this woman losing her life, culminating also in a Facebook beef. And I think it was more than $20 was the deal. And I'm gonna come back to that if no one else makes that point. But Steven, what's your thoughts on the story?
It sounds like to me there's a lot more going on behind the scenes that was not being told. And the whole issue about $20, you got to think about your priorities in life. And the fact about is being on Facebook. If you're going to have a discussion on Facebook, let it be mature so you can set an example for others of how to have an accurate discussion. But if you're going to let it get escalate to that, leave it alone. Move on.
I can dig it. April?
Yeah, walk away. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. I don't know what other issues, like you were saying, I don't know what other issues may have been at the root of it, especially if one is dating the other's brother. There's probably a whole lot of personal stuff that we don't know about.
Right.
But it's not that serious. And so many people try to just, they want to be someone they're not on social media.
Right.
And so you let other people get in your ear, you let other people boost it. You read other people's comments and, oh, you got to answer that. You can't let her get away with that. And diapers, it's not that serious.
Nah, it's funny that you say it's not that serious, and I think you might have said it's not that serious about 5 times.
I did.
Which I agree with you on, and so does Joy, who's listening to us on the MixLR page. And Joy has typed in, it's not that freaking serious. And she typed it in right before you started talking. So that tells me that we are all on the same page with it. And you said something that I was thinking, and I said, I would piggyback if one of you guys made the point I was making. Mm-hmm. People have this thing about being disrespected. If you disrespect me, then I got to go above and beyond, the next level to get you back.
Right.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like Carl Banks said, it's really about $20, but it ended up becoming about respect.
Right.
Kayla felt disrespected by Kamisha. In the fact that I gave you $20 and you ain't even use it on what I gave it to you for, and you talking smack to me, oh, I got to get you. You know what I mean? That's what it was, and that's just really sad because when I talked about the blackout that the number one true fighter Warren Ballantyne is calling for, the Friday after Thanksgiving, of not spending any money at all in the United States economy, minorities, and then spending it all on Saturday in minority-owned businesses. Part of that endeavor is to have 72 hours from that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with no violence, like none. Like
right.
we not shooting you in the forehead for stepping on my suede Pumas.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We not cutting your throat, for saying my mama. You know, we not doing this dumb stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's just crazy to me, the mentality that people have, that the smallest little thing will set you off and get you to fight. Like, I'm not that dude, man. I ain't fighting nobody, you know, unless it's a real reason. You know, I'm not fighting you because I loaned you $20. Man, please, if I had every $20 bill that I handed to somebody, you know, and didn't get back when I was supposed to, if I had all of that back, I mean, because if I got it, you got it. But the moral of this story to me, Carlton, Steve just threw $20 too. The moral to this, Carlton, to me is, if somebody asks you for money and you give it to them, you got to be prepared to never
get it
again,
back.
whether they say they're going to give it back to you or not. If you give it to them, you got to be prepared to never, ever see it again. What you think about that?
You know what? That happens to me all the time. That's why I stopped telling people I got money carried. I don't carry cash anymore. I just got debit cards.
Yeah, that's because you're so genuinely nice that you won't just tell a sucker, hell no, I ain't giving you no money. You know. I mean, because eventually people gonna keep coming to you if you keep giving it to them. It's like that cat on the back porch that you put milk out for them one time. They gonna keep coming until eventually they come and ain't nothing in that dish. And then if ain't nothing in that dish, guess what? They gonna get mad at you,
right? And
they ain't gonna speak to you because you kept putting milk in the dish. And then finally you was like, look, man, this is my milk, and my milk is going to be dispersed more appropriately. But you know, that's a rant for another time. But it just kind of trips me out how sometimes people get. And Kayla was one of those people who did not handle it the right way. Right. You should have gave Kamisha that $20 and then walked away and never thought about it again.
Right.
But instead, you caught feelings because she went and probably bought a bunch of Black & Milds instead of diapers. You know, she probably did spend it on something stupid instead of diapers. But so what? So what? No. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from the Den. LegacyInternetRadio.com. The next one that I'm going to get into, Steven, I want you on this one first. Well, I'm getting this from the Black and Blue Dog. The Black People's Liberals don't want to talk about is the tagline, the blackandbluedog.com. This is a story about the NYPD, and you know I usually end up getting into it with them cats all the time, and so does Steven. But the NYPD had a incident where one of the chiefs was pulled out of his car, stopped and frisked, you know, made to run his pockets and all that kind of stuff. You know how like stop and frisk is. And he was a chief. He got pulled over by plainclothes, and he's allegedly identifying himself as not just an officer, but dude, like, I'm kind of a boss, dude. Right. And they didn't believe him. They thought, you know, and then when he showed them his shield, they didn't believe him at all. And I'm looking at this now. I'm reading the article, and I don't want to get too much into it. I want to get into some of the pieces that are more relevant. But one of the officers is now being disciplined, and it's an old incident from 2008. But the discipline stuff is just coming up now, so that's the reason why it's coming back into the consciousness now. But it happened in Queens, and the way the article reads is plainclothes officers ordered the highest-ranking Black uniformed officer out of his vehicle. The off-duty 3-star police chief was parked in Queens at the time. The Community Affairs Bureau head, Chief Douglas Ziegler, was in his NYPD-issued vehicle near a fire hydrant at the time of his interaction with two plainclothes officers. One officer walked up on each side of the SUV and told the driver to roll down the heavily tinted windows. And, of course, what happened next is what's in dispute. The chief's account, of course, differs from theirs, but according to some sources, including the police commissioner, Ziegler stated that the two white officers had no legitimate reason to approach the vehicle at all. Not only did they order him out of the SUV, but one of the officers didn't believe the NYPD identification that he produced upon request. Officers, of course, give a different account. One of the officers claimed to have seen the chief's service weapon and yelled gun, which led to both officers raising their weapons in Ziegler's direction, requesting that he get out of the vehicle. Sources said that Ziegler said, "Don't you know who I am?" quote, instead of identifying himself. The sources also assert that Ziegler allegedly pushed one of the officers as he attempted to check the authenticity of the badge and identification hanging around his neck, and after this altercation, he identified that he was an officer and made them aware of his rank. Ziegler maintains that they never yelled gun, and one of the officers foolishly decided to have a heated exchange with the police chief even after seeing his credentials. He has since been stripped of his gun and badge and placed on modified duty. The status of the other guy is unclear at the time the article was published. Stephen, I want you in on this one first. In a case of stop and frisk, which obviously this is what this was, I have been vocal about my opinions on stop and frisk. You have shared some things with me privately, which you can share or you can not share. But I wanted you on this one first, mostly because you just came back from New York, like literally just got back from New York. When you hear this, man, what's your thoughts?
It's very sad. To me, obviously, I was not there, but third eye is telling me that this was obviously a profile in this situation. The fact that it's now 5 years later and they just now get into the discipline actions of it shows you that the actual lack in care. He probably had to get some legal action in order for it to get done, because they were probably trying their best to sweep it underneath the rug, because considering the height of the stop and frisk situation, they didn't want to add more fuel to the fire. I recently just went through 3 incidents. I was in New York for 2 weeks. I went through 3 incidents, most recently where I was dropping off some paperwork to an immigration building. I had identification from the firm that I was helping out with. They took my inserts to my shoes, took my belt, took one of my inhalers, and they took my cell phones to verify. One of my cell phones had an extended battery because it looked different. They took that battery. I gave them another phone, which was a Galaxy, that I was using for the job, and they cracked that, and they took the cover. Then he comes back and tells me, you gave it cracked, and no, I didn't. And because I couldn't produce a picture that the phone was not cracked beforehand, they had to file a complaint and told me to get it fixed and bring that back the receipt. And then they would not even bother calling. After a couple of times, they never bothered to find out that if my prescription was valid for my inhalers and everything else. Now, unfortunately, I've had backups, but it's the issue of going through this, and now this makes it, I found, say 42, 43 times in 2 years that I've had to go through the stop and frisk. Also, if you don't mind me telling, I asked one of the officers what was going on, and you know what he actually told me? That they have a certain number of people that each officer is told to stop, that's assigned. And they stop a guy like me because they feel that I don't have anything. And the reason why they want to do that is because they don't really want to fill out the paperwork, but they told to stop a certain number of black people. Right. Now, he wouldn't told me, please don't admit his badge number, this, that, and that, but he told specifically to stop a certain number of Latino and black people. Now, the thing is, I don't like the situation, but I've seen it whereas the wires that's used for bombs and stuff, I've seen it where it's hidden under women's underbra. I've seen the parts of knives in shoes. I've seen a lot of different things that you would think would never happen. So I can understand, but it's not to the level that they're going with.
Carlton Banks, when you hear a story like this, you got the police chief, one of the police chiefs in New York, who apparently is a victim of the stop and frisk, the same stop and frisk that we've discussed on these airwaves before, and you hear this story. What's your thoughts?
My question is this: how come the security camera on the car won't run it? Because that would have been comedy right there.
It was a common car.
But still, if
not all the cars have it.
But my whole thing is, if it did, that'd be comedy right about now. Because first of all, it picks up everything and anything on those.
What's
mics.
your thoughts on the situation?
The thought on the situation is this: those fools about to get busted to be corporal or whatever they are. They're gonna be doing traffic duty for about a good 3-4 years. They'll never get anywhere. They messed up.
April.
I'm more upset that it's taken 5 years for anyone to do anything about it. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And what has stop and frisk been challenged? And
it's always being challenged, but
but how high has it gone? I guess that's my question.
General Assembly, and it's to the mayor almost every other month. He's getting reports.
Yeah, I've done, and I don't have the statistics in front of me. I've had 2 members of the NYPD on this show twice. 2 different people.
I think I recall one.
2 different ones. One agrees with it, and the other one doesn't. I had personal relationships with both of them. One of them I went to high school with, and the other one I went to college with. One agrees, the other one doesn't. But the point I'm making is, and again, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but the overwhelming majority of the people that are stopped and frisked are black and Latinos,
right?
And most of those stop and frisk don't produce any any weapons or any wrongdoing.
Right.
You know, and I know we've debated this before, but the reality is people do dirt in their own neighborhoods. It's not like stuff don't go on in Chinatown and it doesn't go on in other areas, you know, but it seems like Steven mentioned that it's happened to him, you know, a lot of times. And, you know, I haven't been personally stopped and frisked, but I have been pulled over in what I ended up viewing to be an inappropriate way, you know, and I've had my driver's license taken by the police officer. See, now I've heard police officers who, you know, who kind of cool tell you what they do is, you know, they'll ask for your license and your registration, but then they'll hold on to your license until you realize that you don't have it. And you riding dirty for a while until it, you know, some time it takes for you to go and get your license back. And by the time you get your license back, you know, it's possible that you might get pulled over for something else. And if you get pulled over if you don't have no license, you know, now they got probable cause to search your car. And, it, you know, not to say that you riding dirty, but, you know, we all know that they can find stuff to mess with you on. And I had an officer tell me that this is what they do, you know. So, I mean, again, I you know, as a black man in this country, I know what it feels like for people to look at Lil Wayne and think that Lil Wayne represents all black people, all black men. And I got a problem with that because I ain't Lil Wayne. And so I try not to put all, you know, officers and you know, have them with the same broad stroke, you know, but I got a natural distrust for them that I just can't shake. I just can't shake it. And I wish that I could, but I just can't. And I guess on some level I understand why people got a natural distrust for me, you know, because I may look like Lil Wayne. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you know, it's unfortunate, you know, but it's also the reality of the world that we live in. The last story that we're going to get in on right here on Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. live from the Dano Legacy Internet Radio in our What the Hell segment is an employee who has been part of the court system for 30 years. 30 years. April, I want you on this one first. Employee of 30 years fired for helping free an innocent man. That's the byline. I'm also getting this one from blackandbluedog.com. A Kansas judge's assistant of 34 years has been fired for providing a wrongly convicted man with documents to help him gain access to his freedom. Last month, Sarah Snyder was terminated for violating court rules by inappropriately giving advice and discussing court matters with outsiders. Robert Nelson was a man attempting to exonerate himself from a rape conviction through DNA testing, had been turned down twice because his motions did not meet technical requirements. Luckily for him, however, he had the help on the inside. Following the failure of the second motion in 2011, Snyder gave Nelson's sister, Sia Dunnell, a copy of a motion filed in another case where the judge had sustained a request for DNA testing. According to the Daily Coos, Laura Clarkson, Nelson used that motion to file for a third time in 2012. Later that year, the judge sustained the motion, and he also found Nelson to be indigent and appointed legal director of the Midwest Innocence Project, Laura O'Sullivan, to serve as his legal representation. Testing showed that Robert Nelson did not commit the rape for which he had been convicted, and although Snyder's actions led to the release of an innocent man, she was fired. According to Snyder, the reason had to do with her violating numerous court rules, including providing assistance to Nelson and talking specifics of the case, even while under seal to attorneys who were not involved in the matter. Although the termination was procedurally correct, Snyder helped fix a wrong in the current justice system. She helped exonerate an innocent man from an atrocious and embarrassing conviction which nearly cost him his life. Instead of being rewarded, she was punished. Fortunately for her, she was several months from her retirement and she will still receive her pension. Nelson was convicted in 1984 of raping and robbing a woman. He was released on June 12th of this year after DNA test revealed that he was not the one of the individuals in the 1983 attack. And once again, that was from blackbluedog.com. April, I want you on this one first. I will reserve my opinion for last. What is your thoughts?
So they fired her for giving away the sealed documents. Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
They fired her basically for giving documents that were, my guess is the sealed documents that were sealed, which means that they were private.
Right.
She was talking to them, so my guess is that's part of why she got
Canned.
Yeah, basically. What's your thoughts?
So the fact that she freed an innocent man didn't. There's no moral victory.
All the information I had was what I just read in that article. So when I read it, well, again, like I said, I'm not going to get into my opinion. I see you struggling. I see you struggling.
I am.
You're struggling.
I am. There's a moral victory in that. I mean, you don't.
I'm sorry. Did she break the law?
She did.
Did she break the law?
Did.
And I'm sorry. There's no moral victory in it. She broke the law, and unfortunately, that's what it boils down to. I mean, we can talk about how Plaxico Burress shot himself. He went to jail because he had a gun and a loaded gun in a public place. Breaking the law doesn't. Situations. No, it's still the same situation. Breaking the law is still breaking the law, regardless of what the intent was. If you broke out of jail, if you're an innocent man and you broke out of jail, you go back to jail. If you're found, I'm dead serious. You go back to jail.
That's true.
You were innocent from the beginning.
I understand that.
But you're going back to jail because you broke out.
Steven, let's get your opinion on this.
I think in this situation is a wash, and you should go on. And I'm going to give you a quick example. Not too long ago, there was this nurse who did not provide a certain health care to a patient in a senior home. And that person died, but she's procedurally correct, but she followed a procedure not to do it. But if she had given that person CPR, that person had a better chance to be alive.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that story.
Or the other lawyer who knew a person was innocent, but had to wait till that person died, and this person sat in jail for 50 years. Situations like that, you may follow a procedure, but I think in the end, you have a moral obligation.
See that?
And I think, and personally, I feel like this, regardless if it's my documents or anybody else, if it meant saving somebody's life, and then you talk about a life, that child without their mother, the child, whatever, there's an end result.
I understand what Carlton is saying, and I understand what Steven is saying. To me, I think a lot of what our country is lacking is common sense.
Common sense.
We lack common sense. We get the whole you broke the law. We get the whole you did the wrong thing. We get the whole, it's written in our bylaws that says if you do these things, you get fired. I get all of that, but, if we see a man, speeding down the road with his pregnant wife in the car and he gets pulled over by the police, does he get a ticket? Probably. But is it the right thing to do? Probably not. This is, and actually, it's ironic that I even bring that up because I do have a personal friend that happened to. Like literally,
right.
She was in the ambulance and her husband gets pulled over, and instead of the police giving him an escort, the police pulled him over and made them wait for an ambulance, and she had the baby in the ambulance instead of in the hospital. But that's another story for another day. But the point of the matter is, I understand that we have law and order in this country and certain things that we have to abide by. However, sometimes the ends do justify the means. And the fact that this man spent 30 years in prison, or however long it was he was in prison, wrongly convicted, he lost his life, and someone did the benevolent thing, the right thing, the moral right thing, because it's, legally wrong, morally right, but legally wrong. They're punished for that. And while it's, procedurally correct to let her go, it's just something about that doesn't feel right. I got to explain to my kid that this person did the moral right thing, but the law says she's wrong.
Right.
Like, how do you reconcile that? And how do you explain to that same child that they need to trust the police? Like, how do you trust police? And I know I'm mixing stories here.
Yeah.
I know I'm mixing stories here, but, how do you trust the police when you see them pull out a gun and shoot Oscar Grant in the back and say, ooh, my bad, I thought it was my taser? You know what I mean? Like, how do you trust the judicial system when you see George Zimmerman stalk and murder a boy and then he goes home and he's giving his gun back? How do you trust the judicial system when you see this woman, help someone who was clearly innocent get out of jail, and you punish her? Like, I get the legalities, Carlton. You're not wrong, but morally, I just have a hard time with that.
I understand. I totally understand. It's your heart's in the right place. Your mind told you to do it, but damn it, you were wrong. And it's just, how do you say you're wrong for doing it? You right. Oh, you're right. 100% right. Yeah, this is what I want to do. But you're wrong.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
I'll give you a real life situation.
Go for it.
Okay, you out with your daughter or something like that, a child, and she fits and falls, hits her head and needs like bandages or whatever. You happen to be right next to a Walgreens. Okay, you run inside, ran real quick to get bandages, whatever. Tell somebody, call police, 911, help my daughter, and you ran out with the bandages to help her up until the police come and the ambulance. But then you got arrested for stealing to the store because they wanted you to stop and said, well, you should have paid for it before. But you running screaming, blood all over you. Help, my daughter is sick, and it fell out. I need some bandages. You ran in, got some bandages, came, ran back out to help your daughter to stop the bleeding.
I'm not going to run in the store. I'm going to use my shirt.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
right,
I mean,
you went to go get something.
No. But seriously, I'm not going to run in the store. I'm going to take my shirt off. I'm not.
Let's say you
never want to answer a
You don't
question
wanna
when you
answer-
challenge.
I can't answer that question.
When you challenge, you always run.
I can't answer that question. I'm telling you what I'm going to do logically.
You're not being.
The point is,
I'm gonna tell you what the question.
Okay, let's say
he's got to put me in a
let's say you
scenario
did
where
something.
I can really respond.
Okay, let me give you a better.
Okay, go ahead. Give me a better scenario.
Let's say you're a doctor.
Okay.
And you know how to do something, but besides the shirt, you needed some other medical equipment real quick. You at the Walgreens right there, and you got everything that you need. You went in, got it real quick. You did an emergency triage, all this other stuff. Okay, and then you just need more than your shirt. But then afterwards, okay, you got arrested. Now you're followed by the Hippocratic oath to help in an emergency situation, but you got arrested because they said you stole it without sitting there and paying first.
Well, first of all, I can't. From a Hippocratic oath standpoint, I can't leave the patient. So therefore, I couldn't run into Walgreens. Still, again, scenario. No.
You went to Walgreens.
I cannot leave the patient.
You knew exactly what tools you need in that moment.
I had to tell somebody to go get them.
Actually, that's not how the Hippocratic oath works in that situation. I can tell you for a fact that's not how it works in that situation. You go get in all the tools and things that you need real quick, but you come back out and you help that patient. Okay, and things like that. You're not helping a patient by telling somebody who does not know for something that you have knowledge on. Okay, that's not how the Hippocratic oath works for a fact. Then when you got arrested. Okay, for the simple fact that you went and got something, but you didn't stop to pay for it at first. And you got arrested. Would you feel comfortable in going to jail for that, or you would say you did the moral thing?
Regardless, did I break the law?
Man.
I keep telling you.
But it's your own child.
Again, if it's my own child, I'm not leaving my child. You're
not
putting me in an unreal situation. I am answering the question. I am answering the question. I hit a kid on his bike. When I sat there, first of all, when I hit the kid on his bike, I sat there. I told somebody else, go call 911. I took the blankets out of the trunk of my car, laid it on the kid in case he was going into shock. I sat there and stayed over the kid. I didn't run out. I was a biology major. I didn't leave the kid. I looked for any type of bruising and bleeding. I didn't leave the kid. Okay, but you helped the child. I directed other people to do it, and that's what a doctor's going to do.
You helped the kid, but you didn't have the parents' permission. So
then that's a legal situation. That's a legal situation. That's a legal situation. No, what you're trying to say now is they're going to sue me. That's not the same thing as me going to jail.
Okay, no. Let's say the officer, because you touched another child, helping a child without parents' permission, so you got arrested for that. That can't happen.
Under what law?
You violated another child without permission of a
parent. But then you want to sit here and tell me not to touch the kid.
You said your biology. You performed a medical procedure without parents' consent, so you have a right to be arrested. But you were doing
under what law?
Parents' rights. There's tons of laws for that. There's at least 4 or 5.
Okay, what is it? Tell me the law that I broke. That's what I'm waiting for.
Okay, one of them I know for a fact you performed a medical procedure.
What medical procedure did I perform? Other than put a blanket on top of a child.
You said you checked for bruises and everything.
Yes, I did.
Okay, that is a medical procedure.
Okay,
without parents' consent.
Okay, and again,
you got arrested.
That's what you're supposed to go do when anytime somebody gets hurt.
But you didn't get parents' permission.
You don't have to. In an emergency situation, certain things bypass that.
Let me stop you right there. Because you just contradicted yourself.
How so?
And you made the entire point that we've been trying to make. In emergency situations, certain things get trumped out. In the emergency situation that he presented to you with your child busting their head, you run in there and get bandages. Okay, maybe you personally wouldn't do it. But the point he's making, and I agree with it, that a normal, prudent person may do that. And yes, they would be legally wrong for stealing, but their kid is dying, bleeding to death on the curb. So you're gonna give me, you're gonna put me in jail for taking advantage. I'll worry about paying you later. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the point is, sometimes.
How many people do you know will actually leave their bleeding child?
It depends on where you physically are. If you just walked out of Walgreens and they tripped and whatnot and bust their head, like the analogy is not a real world analogy. It's more about the spirit of the analogy. It's not about, okay, most people wouldn't leave their kid. Okay, fine. But the point of the matter is, if you did leave your kid just for a minute to run and get a bandage to save your kid, and you stole it from Walgreens because they're right there, are you gonna put me in jail for stealing a bandage to help my kid? I understand what he's saying. I agree with what he's saying. We'll leave it there. Ain't no Steppin, Marcus J. A couple of comments I want to get in on Mixed Law. It's good to see you again, Hawk, man. I appreciate you listening to us. Hakeem is commenting a couple of comments on the stop and frisk. He's saying less than 10% result in any retrieval of a weapon. They stop more black males in NYC every year, which means they basically end up stopping and frisking the same ones over and over again. Police officers are giving quotas by the department heads, which I definitely alluded to that myself. He's also agreeing with you, Carlton, in the sense that you can't break the law. His uncle told him a story when he was a warden of a county jail. An inmate told him he was there and he didn't know why. He investigated, found out the man was right. He told him what to do and how to do it. He even told the man to sue him, the county, the officers, and the state. And he's basically saying there's more than one way to achieve a moral victory for good. I understand your uncle's situation and the position that he was put in. I don't know that your uncle in that situation had any other recourse. And if he did, fine. If he didn't, that's fine as well. But as far as this lady losing her job that she's had for 30 years, I would think that she's built up some sort of cachet over the 30 years that indiscretion could have somehow been overlooked, but I guess not. Ain't no how stepping with Marcus J. Gonna take a break. And when we come back, we're going to finish up some What the Hell, and we're going to get into the rants and the closings. I want to know what person said to a white person that they acting crazy because they trying to be black. They trying to be black. And a rapper is basically changing, and his record company ain't happy with it. We got a lot to get into, Marcus J. Ain't no how stepping. Keeping with the TV themes, y'all. I got a couple more good ones. Stay with me, Marcus J. Ain't no how stepping. Be back in a minute.